Welcome to History Repeated. Hi, I'm John Myers, and we'll get to today's episode in just a moment. On History Repeated, we try to tell historical stories in a way that are of interest to you, so that you'll want to tell others about them. If you like this video, don't forget to click the like button, and please subscribe to this channel, so you'll know when new videos are uploaded, and we upload new videos weekly. On today's episode, the saying, "Don't give up the ship," became the battle cry for many wars, and it's the official motto of the United States Navy. We're going to learn who uttered those famous words, what the circumstances were, and a little twist of irony that happened on the day that those words were uttered. This was originally a story told by Paul Harvey on his Rest of the Stories. So I hope you enjoy today's episode of Don't Give Up the Ship.
Now the Chesapeake so bold sailed from Boston, we've been told, for to take the British frigate neat and handy. Oh, the people in the port all came out to see the sport, and the bands were playing Yankee Doodle Dandy. Oh.
Now, the rest of the story. It is the cherished motto of the United States Navy, don't give up the ship. Don't give up the ship. Echoing the immortal words of Captain James Lawrence, uttered in the white heat of actual naval battle, don't give up the ship. And yet so remarkable were the circumstances under which the now world-famous command was given that it's worth your knowing the rest of the story. The so-called War of 1812 had spilled over into the spring of 1813. Now it's June 1. The British warship Shannon was prowling Boston Harbor. Naval historians know well the Shannon, a splendid 38-gun frigate, perhaps the most efficient vessel for its purpose in all the Royal Navy. Her crew that day was comprised of disciplined experts. Her captain, Philip Broke, was not only one of Britain's best officers, but one of the most proficient artillerists in any navy, anywhere. And the Shannon's daring invitation to American Captain James Lawrence was clear: come out and fight. And there in Boston Harbor, aboard this vessel, the Chesapeake, sat Captain Lawrence. The challenge facing him, even greater than many accounts have represented. His crew, for example, was inexperienced and uninterested, half mutinous, one historian called them. Just past noon, Captain Lawrence mustered them on spar deck for what he intended as inspiration: the hoisting of a flag bearing the words "Free Trade and Sailors' Rights," the delivery of a brief patriotic address. And yet for the foreigners aboard, the patriotic platitudes held no meaning, and the crew in general grumbled through the captain's speech, interrupting with grievances left over from voyages past. So, morally and physically, practically none of Lawrence's men was fit for combat, which made it all the more obvious that unless he, the captain, between now and the first cannon blast, could find some way to put fire in the bellies of those serving under him, the Chesapeake would be lost. And the American frigate sailed out to battle the Shannon, and crowds gathered on shore to watch. Even more adventurous spectators launched pleasure craft in the Chesapeake's wake for a closer look. The eyes of Boston were upon Lawrence and his crew. The majority of them belonged to British sympathizers. It would be unthinkable to back down now. With impeccable precision, the two warships stalked each other. At 5:45, the Chesapeake stood at the Shannon's starboard beam. It was the British vessel that opened fire. Lawrence, hoping to spur his men on, recklessly exposed himself to the torrent of flying lead, and sure enough, one musket ball struck him squarely in the chest, and he was carried below. It was then that Captain James Lawrence, mortally wounded, gave his final order, a command that has echoed through history ever since: don't give up the ship. Dying words that have lived in the hearts of all men who've ever warred on the waves. Don't give up the ship. The very motto of the United States Navy. The insistence of all who would keep on keeping on. Even though 15 minutes after Captain Lawrence commanded his men, don't give up the ship, they gave up the ship. And now you know the rest of the story.
Now the Chesapeake so bold sailed from Boston, we've been told, for to take the British frigate neat and handy. Oh, the people in the port all came out to see the sport, and the bands were playing Yankee Doodle Dandy. Oh, the British frigate's name, which for the purpose came to cool the Yankee courage neat and handy, oh, was the Shannon. Captain broke, all her men were hearts of oak, and at fighting were allowed to be the dandy, oh. The fight had scarce begun ere they flinched from their guns, which at first they started working neat and handy, oh. Then brave Brokey waved his sword, crying, "Now, my lads, aboard, and we'll stop their playing Yankee Doodle Dandy, oh." They no sooner heard the word than they quickly jumped aboard and hauled down the Yankee colors neat and handy, oh. Notwithstanding all their brag, now the glorious British flag at the Yankee mizzen peak was quite the dandy, oh. Here's a health, brave Broke, to you, to your officers and crew, who aboard the Shannon frigate fought so handy, oh. And may it always prove that in fighting and in love, the British tar forever is the dandy, oh. And may it always prove that in fighting and in love, the British tar forever is the dandy, oh.